Hi everyone. We normally come in to read you stories for assemblies, but this term we're going to be sending them to you on these videos instead. So you'll be seeing a few more videos like this, some with me, some with other people. Now, do you ever find it hard to do the right thing? In today's story, we meet someone who was told that he shouldn't pray to God, but he kept on praying to God because he knew it was the right thing to do. As you listen to the story, you'll see that God's people were no longer living in their own land. They're living far away from home. So let's open the book to the story of Daniel and the lions. Daniel missed his home in Jerusalem, but he wanted to please God wherever he was, so he worked hard at the jobs he was given, so hard that he became one of the king's own helpers. But he never forgot about God or failed to pray to him, morning, noon, and night. Some of the king's men were jealous of Daniel. They wanted his job for themselves, so they talked the king into making a new law, a law which said no one is allowed to pray to anyone but the king himself. We've got Daniel now, his enemies laughed. And so they had. For the very next morning, Daniel knelt by his window, bowed his head and prayed, not to the king, but to God. Thank you for taking care of us in this faraway land, he prayed. Forgive us, and please take us back to our own land soon. Daniel's enemies were watching, and before he could even open his eyes, they grabbed him and dragged him in front of the king. The king was sad, very sad. He liked Daniel, but he could not break his own law. Daniel must be punished, he sighed. Throw him into the lion pit. But even as the king gave the order, he whispered a prayer that no one could hear, a prayer to Daniel's God, that somehow Daniel might be saved. The pit was dark. The pit was deep. The lions covered its floor like a shaggy, growling carpet. They leaped to their feet in a second when Daniel landed among them. They licked their lips. They showed their teeth. Their eyes shone bright and fierce. They opened their mouths and moved towards their dinner. And then they stopped. Shoo! Scat! Go away! Shouted a voice right behind Daniel. The lions' mouths snapped shut. Their tails drooped, and they whimpered away to the corners of the cave. Slowly Daniel turned around and looked up into the face of an enormous angel. Nothing to worry about now, the angel smiled. God sent me to watch over you. Why don't you get some sleep? And have a look here. Those lions don't look very fierce anymore, do they? The next morning, the king cheered when he discovered that Daniel was still alive. Pull Daniel out, he ordered his men. And while you're at it, take the men that talked me into that silly law and dump them in the pit instead. The king put his arm around Daniel and walked him back into the palace. Meanwhile, Daniel's enemies cried for help, and the lions enjoyed their breakfast. Daniel knew it was wrong to pray to the king and right to pray to God. He risked being eaten by the lions, but he still chose to do what he knew was right. He honoured God, and God took care of him. Doing the right thing can be difficult sometimes, can't it? Daniel was very brave to do it. As we close our eyes, see if you can think of a time when you had to be brave. Now I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end, after me. Dear God, sometimes other people try to make us do the wrong thing. Please help us to be brave and stand up for what we know is right. Amen. I hope you enjoyed that story, and we look forward to seeing you again soon for another one. Bye-bye.